says that I'm live. Does that sound right to you? All right. So I did not ever intend to get into wood turning. Turn down the volume for my laptop there. So I never intended to get into wood turning. I follow several wood turning channels on YouTube, and it's really fun to watch, really interesting, but not really something that I really envisioned myself getting into or doing. So my 17-year-old daughter, though, has recently been saying that she really likes the idea of a lathe. She would like to do some lathe work, some wood turning. The other day, she said she wanted to make some. Actually, I think she said she wanted me to make some mixing bowls out of wood. I was like, well, I don't have a lathe, so can't really do that too easily. And then the other day, I saw a lathe listed on Facebook Marketplace for pretty dang cheap. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's take a look, right? And I didn't really see any pictures of it before I got to see it in person. And when I saw it in person, I was like, oh, that's why it's so cheap. So let me show you what it looks like right now, which is way better than what it looked like when I first saw it. A lot of the dust has been blown away, but here's what it looks like now. And I was like, oh, you know what? This lathe looks pretty old. Hey, Johnny and Grumpy, good to see you. Thanks for joining the live. So this is the lathe that I acquired from Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, you know what? This is old, right? And it is, it's on a very sturdy stand. At least the stand is sturdy. Whoa, sturdier than my grip on the camera tripod here. It's really sturdy going back and forth. It doesn't move at all, but it's got a little bit of play going right to left. So I might need some kind of cross bracing there. But you can see, it's pretty dusty, pretty dirty, but a lot cleaner than what it was when I first saw it, right? So you can see Wagner Electric Company, right? Capacitor motor, and let's see, 1/4 horsepower. So it's got a lot of power here. And then here's the variable speed setup. So it's got 4 different speeds available. All right. And I think from what I can tell, the way to tension the belt, that's not very tensioned right now, but looks like I just unscrew these bolts here on the motor mount. There's a couple on the back as well, and then just scoot it forward or back based on where I want that, how tensioned I want the belt to be. So someone was recommending that I get a new belt. This one looks pretty robust. I don't really see any damage to it so far, but probably not a bad idea to get a new belt. If you guys can let me know in the chat what you guys think. So anyway, so yeah, 1/4 horsepower motor, and then it is a Sears Roebuck lathe, and I found a manual for that model number, and I want you guys to guess in the comments chat what year was on that manual, on that for this lathe. How old do you think this thing is? So Johnny, see you there. Grumpy, see you. Let's see. Oh, a couple other things. 61, you think 1961? Okay, it's not a bad guess. Let me readjust this here. All right, so it is missing some parts, right? So I think I need something for the headstock here to be able to attach to the wood pieces. Probably need something else over here. I'm not exactly sure what I need. I mean, I've seen stuff on other channels, and I know this obviously doesn't have that stuff. And so anything you guys think I should be acquiring, and is this threaded rod here, is that going to be universal across pretty much all lathes, or is it going to be proprietary? And, how difficult is it going to be for me to find something to actually work on this lathe versus just whatever lathe is out there? And then I also need to find out what kind of tools to use, because I don't really have any wood turning tools, and chisels or gouges or whatever else, right? So what are just the basics that I should start out with, and where's the best place to get that stuff? So lots of questions for you guys. Number one, what year do you think this thing was made? And I don't know for sure what year this particular unit was made. The only information I have is the date that was printed on the manual for that model number, and so that's the date I'm going with. And then I'll give you a hint. It's June of a year. So, let's see who can come up with it. All right, and then what do I need for the headstock? Do I need anything for is this footstock? And then what kind of tools am I going to need for this beautiful tool rest? One of the things that I'm not excited about is that it has these little, well, let me just show you. It has these little cross pieces here, and let's see, looks like to loosen this guy, you have to just use the nut here. Like, it seems like it'd be nicer to have something that's easier than a nut. I think I'd probably want to tighten that more than just by hand. And then I can slide it between those dividers, but not past them. So I'd have to actually remove the tool rest from the lathe in order to get it from one section to another. It seems like that's maybe not the best design. The footstock, I think, is I think that one, if it's loosened enough, yeah, I think that one can slide past them, but the tool rest not so much. So let me take a look at your chat and see if anyone's come up with the correct date on that. So let's see here, 1961. Johnny's Grumpy says 61. Johnny says the 60s. Ray says 75. And yeah, Ray, Johnny, Grumpy, Ray. Yeah. Hate to run, wife's night. Okay. Thanks for jumping in, Grumpy. Appreciate you being here. All right. Anyone else that's any ideas on the what I need for the headstock and what kind of tools I need? I will say all of you so far have overbid on its year. So all of you have a year that is a higher number than the actual number. This is older than any of the guesses that have come in so far. So how old do you think this thing is? What year was it manufactured? And help me with the headstock pieces and what tools do I need? And while you guys are thinking about that, 55, okay, 57, okay, not bad guesses, but still not far back enough. And while you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to get some brushes and vacuum and try to clean this thing up a little bit. And let me just put on some ear protection for the vacuum. Okay, kind of cool deal here. As I cleaned off that motor, I saw there's something inscribed in it. Looks like the name Lewis that's carved in there. And that rang a bell because it's also got Lewis on the wooden stand here. So I'm thinking this might have belonged to somebody named Lewis. And it has been labeled as such. All right. So what year? And let's see. Okay, so 55, 57, 32. Hey, Cat's Piece, good to see you. 1944, it's a D-Day lathe. And all right, so Cat's Piece, you are a little too early. And 44 is still too late. So this is an old piece of machinery, man. This is old. All right, I'm gonna clean some more here as you come up with, see if we can come up with the actual date. And then again, anyone who knows about this stuff, what do I need to get for this? Where should I get it? Is it going to be proprietary, or are all the lathes pretty much the same size for this? You know, this threaded rod here, you know, it seems like there's like just the spike type part that people use, but then there's also like a dovetailed piece that it seems like people are using. What are those called, and where's the best place for me to get them, and will they even work on this machine? All right, I'm going to clean some more. let's see what we've got here. All right, so 32, 44, 36. Oh, so close. 40. Oh, in between 36 and 40. In between 36 and 40. And anyone know what to put here or what tools I should get? And where to get them? Johnny's Lathe Crafts. Need a drive spur for the headstock. You know the size of the hole. 1 MT or 2 MT. What does the MT stand for, Johnny? Let me just measure that right there. Maybe that will tell me. Is it, I'm presuming I need to know the exterior diameter? Is that what you're saying? Or I don't need to know the interior, do I? It doesn't look like it's threaded on the interior, just the exterior. So let me just use the calipers here. So that's coming through as 0.74 inches. So 3/4 inch, I'm presuming. Oh, interior. So I need the interior of that. Let's see if I can get that with the, and it's showing me 0.43 inches on the interior of that thing. So no idea if that's like a common size or a standard or anything. I mean, I guess it could have been standard in the year this was manufactured, which is, you guys are close enough, I think. The manual that I found said this was, the date on the manual for this model number was, the date printed on it was June 1938. So pre-World War II, this is an old machine. And how much do you think I paid for it? And did I get ripped off? Okay, let's see. How many threads? I think you have a 3/4 by 16. It may take a 1 MT. How many threads? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's several threads there. I don't know how many per inch or anything. Robert G asks, what kind is it? So it is a Sears Roebuck. Sears Roebuck and Co. Model number 101.06242. And it has a Wagner Electric Corporation 1/4 horsepower engine. 1/4. So not going to be the most powerful machine, I wouldn't think. But hopefully powerful enough for what I might need to do. And it is variable speed. So for those of you that are joining us after I showed this earlier, it does have a variable speed setup. And here's the variable speed system. So it's got 4 different speeds it's capable of. And then I think to move it from one to another, there's little bolts that are supposed to go in here. So there's one, actually there's not one there. And then there's some on the back as well. So I think I just loosen those up, slide it forward to release tension on the belt, and then set it to whatever speed I need it to be at, and then retension it and retighten it. What do you guys think about this belt? Is it in decent shape, or does this really need to be replaced? I don't know how well you can really see. It seems like it's fine. I don't really see any cracking or anything, but I haven't really looked at it that closely either, and I don't really know what I'm looking at. So, I mean, I know I'm looking at a belt, but it is. It doesn't say Craftsman or Dunlap. It just says Sears Roebuck. You would replace the belt, Robert. Is that what I saw? Let me see. You'd replace it? Yeah. If If you don't see cracks, it should be fine. Okay. My inclination is not to replace it if it doesn't need it, because as I was talking about on my live, what was it, Saturday? I'm cheap. So if I don't have to pay for something, I'd rather not. All right, so you're thinking 1 MT drive spur for the headstock. And then do I need to put anything? I'm presuming I at least need like a little spike or something that I would put over on this side. I see it's probably the same interior diameter as on the headstock, but let me see if, yeah, 0.42 inches. I think that's what this was too. Yeah, this was 0.43. So does the spiky thing just go in there? Is that how it works? Or is there a different mechanism that I'm, other than just sticking the spike in there? And then obviously I'd just move this guy over and then tighten him down. All right. What's the model number? Okay. Hey, Bear, and the boss lady. Thanks for joining in. The model number, I read it off earlier, but let me actually show it to you. So it is 101.06242, Sears, Roebuck and Company. And the motor on it, whoa, is Wagner Electric Corporation. It's a capacitor motor type with a 1/4 horsepower, and so it is quite the machine. And it's got these little plastic lids screwed down. I'm not exactly sure the reasoning for that. I'm pretty sure they're not structural. I hope they're not structural, because wow, if they are. I'm thinking that these are just to hold, little things while he was working, I'm presuming, just holding stuff there, but so it didn't roll off the back of the stand. But I mean, it's a pretty cool stand too, really. These vertical supports are 1.5 by 4.5 inches, so bigger than 2x4s, not as big as 2x6s. And then there's a support here that is, I think it was 6.5 inches wide, or 6.5 inches, yeah, wide, I guess, 1.5 deep. And then some, pretty sturdy plywood that's lasted who knows how long. Here's the switch for turning it on and off. And does anyone want to see if it actually turns on? Should we try it? Who's feeling dangerous? All right. Here we go. Does it actually run? I guess it runs. So there's a fair amount of vibration on the headstock, and there's a lot of play in the belt because it's not tensioned particularly well. You probably can't really see that now, but there's probably at least an inch of play on the belt. I'm presuming that that's more than it's supposed to have, but again, I don't really know. Let's see. All right. Tailstock, you need one that spins, usually a cone. It can be a spiked one also. Okay, so it's not necessarily spiked. And so it'll just spin in this interior piece, I'm presuming, right? Just fit it in there, make sure it's relatively tight, but not so tight that it can't spin. Okay. And then it can be spiked or it can be a cone. All right. All right. And live center, is that a comment to me, Grumpy, or to somebody else? I'm not sure. Let's see. All right. So let me just do a little bit more cleaning here, see if I can't get it looking a little nicer. And then what kind of tools should I be acquiring for this? Are there, what are the just kind of the bare minimum tools that I would need for shaping, chisels or gouges or whatever? I don't even know what all I should be looking at. I've seen what a bunch of other people are using, but I don't even really know what they're called, or what are good ones to get, right? So what are the bare minimum tools that I should get, and where's the best place to get them? Where's the best cost-effective place to get them? All right, Robert G says the thread is 3/4 by 18. Did you look that up based on the model number, or you're just able to figure that out by looking? Because if you can figure that out by looking, that's impressive. All right, let me clean some more. All right. Let's see. Hey, Rhinestone, Suzanne, good to see you. All right. Let's get back here. Okay. Can't stay just popping in. Hey, great. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it, Rhinestone. All right. You looked it up by model, and it is 1MT. Okay, sweet. And that, I'm presuming, is a pretty common standard that not hard to find. Where's the best place to look for this stuff if you guys haven't already told me in the chat? Let's see. Heck of a question about tools. Which question, LJ? For those who are joining later, this is a 1938 lathe from Sears, Roebuck and Company with a Wagner Electric Company 1/4 horsepower motor. And missing some parts that I'm trying to find out what to get, and also need all sorts of tools to work the stuff with. And all right, Johnny says carbide set will be good to start with. Amazon has some, Craft Supplies, Wood Turnings, Penn State also have some. Okay, I've heard of Amazon, and I don't know if I've heard of the others, but okay. Let's see. Have I ever turned before? No, I have not. Have never turned before. Wasn't really planning to turn, but my daughter was talking recently about wanting to turn and wanting to make like mixing bowls and stuff like that. And so I saw this one for really cheap on Facebook Marketplace, and actually I didn't see this one on Marketplace. I saw Lathe listed in the price, and I thought, let me go check that out, right? And they had a whole bunch of other stuff that they were trying to sell as well. And so I took my daughter with me, and when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know, man, this is pretty old, pretty heavy. I just had like our little minivan, so I was like, I don't know if it'll even fit. But my daughter convinced me to give it a try, and I was like, you know what, why not? How soon do I want to make stuff? I'm not in a huge hurry. I definitely want to make sure that we're doing things safely before we start doing anything with it. My daughter is pretty excited to do some turning, and that's part of why I'm also thinking, I mean, I should be more safety conscious just for myself, but definitely for her, I want to make sure that we're understanding how to do everything safely before we really get going. One of the things I read in the manual, I didn't read the what is MT1 and the thread count. I didn't notice that. I did get a little sleepy while reading the manual, to be honest, but I think the very first thing it said is that I need to make sure that this is oiled well. So it's got these two oil ports here. So these apparently need to be really well oiled before running it very much. And I wouldn't be surprised if the oil in there is old and or crusty and whatever. So I don't really want to run it a lot before getting that figured out. It just says to use light engine oil for that. So I think I can probably figure that out, but who knows? Let's see. Let's see, other questions here. All right. Oh, and then did anyone have any guesses as to how much I actually paid for it? And LJ, as far as your question on how soon do I want to make stuff, do you have any advice one way or the other on whether I want to do something really quickly versus take my time? What did you have in mind when you asked that? Is it am I needing to take things slowly? Because I definitely haven't turned before, and I definitely want to understand safety and everything on this thing before we're using big chunks of wood. But yeah. Okay. So, all right, my recommendation based on your answer is to start with carbide. You never have to go the traditional tool route if you don't want to. There is a learning curve with traditional tools, more sanding. And all right, Johnny's got to go to Dollar General. Hope you enjoy. With carbide. So you're saying start with carbide tools for for the wood turning. It sounds like that's less sanding than with traditional tools. I'm not even sure. I didn't know there was a difference in traditional versus the carbide. So is that a big raging debate on what's better for wood turning, carbide versus traditional? And are traditional just made with steel or some other substance? I'd be interested to know on that. And while you are considering, I will do a little bit more cleaning. Let's see, get the ear protection. All right. More sanding. Oh, more sanding with carbide. I thought the traditional would mean more sanding on traditional. So traditional tool or high-speed steel or higher-end cryogenics treated steel. Your biggest cost is not the lathe, it's the tools and chucks. Ah, great. Not use a bench chisel. Yeah, I wasn't planning to use a bench chisel, but I figured I needed some specialized tools because, yeah, all the tools that I see you guys using on your channels are different than what I've got. So you've seen someone do that. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. I did actually have that question. Is it okay to use a chisel, just a regular chisel for this? But since I'd never seen anyone actually using one, I figured probably not. So good to know. All right. And then no guesses on how much I paid for it? And it does have a fair amount of rust on it, which show you a little bit up close. So on the tool rest right here, on the rails here, it looks like there's some chipping with some possible rust on that tailstock. So going to need to clean off the rust. And then, yeah, some chipped paint there. My daughter was saying that she wants to paint it a prettier blue color. I'm not sure that that's necessary, but it might not be a bad idea to paint it just to prevent any more rust from forming after we get this cleaned up. And here's a better view of the on-off switch. Hey, on these oil port things, is that a common thing on later model lathes, or is that kind of a artifact of something this old? There's the pulley system again, and with the variable speeds. And then, again, any idea on why those plastic lids would need to be screwed on there? If I'm presuming just for holding, tools or, something. Not exactly sure what would need to be held over there, but it was my guess. And then here's the cord situation. And here's how it looks on the bottom side. So it just has the cord coming from the motor to the switch, and then coming out from the switch, a little bit frayed there. Not really a big fan of that. But coming out from the switch and then going through that hole out there to there. But kind of cool stand. Like I was saying earlier, pretty sturdy front to back. Not quite as sturdy side to side, but still not bad. So I think I saw some comments come in. Let me check and see what I can learn here. MT1, Morris taper number 1. It's the size of the holes in the head and tail stalks. You'll need a drive center, a live center for the tail stalks, and a chuck. Chucks must match the drive spindle, or use an insert to match your threading. Chucks have multiple jaw sizes for holding different size bowls, vases, etc. Hey, Kevin. And Delbacid timbers. Am I saying that right? Delbacid? That is normally where you pack grease into the bearings. That was pretty common for lathes until the mid-1980s. Okay, so pretty common through the 1980s, not too common on more modern devices. Yeah, it says in the manual to just use a light engine oil. So I don't know if packing grease is really what I would need to do, but light engine oil is, I think, what it says in the manual. Okay, use an insert, and yeah, use an insert to match your threading. Chucks have multiple jaw sizes for holding different size bowls, vases, etc. Okay, and I think I've seen that. Modern lathes have sealed. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Your major priority will just be dressing the lathe bed. The rest is all cosmetic regarding the rust. It will only be a small amount of surface rust. Throw a bit of oil on it to prevent rust. So by the lathe bed, you're talking about right here, right? So you think once I get the rust removed here, just put like a little oil on there to prevent rust going forward? I was thinking to do like a paste wax, but maybe that's a bad idea. Would paste wax be acceptable, or an oil would be a better thing to put on the bed, the lathe bed? Dale from Dale Bassett, a professional turner from Australia. Oh, okay, sweet. Yeah, I need your help, man. Appreciate everyone tuning in and helping me with this, because yeah, this is my first foray into turning, and picked this up for very inexpensive, but it's very old, and want to make sure that we're doing things properly and not screwing things up. Especially since it's my 17-year-old daughter who really was the driving force behind getting this, and so she wants to do some turning and make some mixing bowls and other decorative bowls and bowls to give to her friends and whatever, right? And so you're a hobby turner, so listen to Dale. Yeah, hey, I'm open to all the advice I can get, right? I'd rather learn from the collective than just have to try and figure it out myself. And so yeah, anyone who can help me with this thing, I'm appreciative. So major priority: dressing the lathe bed. Rest is all cosmetic. Hey, Carrie, thanks for joining. So dressing the lathe bed. Rest is all cosmetic regarding the rust. Only be a small amount of surface rust. Rub a bit of oil on it to prevent rust. Okay. So Dale, just remove the rust from the lathe bed. Put some oil on it. Would paste wax be okay? Is that a bad idea? Or a wax is all right, or oil, or whatever? Let me know in the chat. And for Carrie and anyone else who's just joining now, I never really intended to get into wood turning, but my 17-year-old daughter, expressed interest in it recently and said she wanted to make mixing bowls and stuff. And so I saw this for cheap on Facebook Marketplace the other day, and went and took a look, and it was they didn't actually picture it on the marketplace, and so they just had the price listed for the lathe. And so I got there and I was like, oh wow, this is a lot older and heavier and bigger than what I was anticipating. And so I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea, but my daughter talked me into it, in part because it was such a good price. So we brought it home and we're getting it cleaned up and trying to figure out what parts to use and what tools to use. And we learned that I found the manual for this model number. The date on the manual was June 1938. So pre-World War II. So it is not too young. All right, wax will gum it up a little bit. A bit of very light machine oil will work on the bed. Either sand the bed with an orbital using 320 grit, then oil it up. Even WD-40 will work. Okay, I have WD-40. What other light machine oil would you recommend? If not WD-40, is there particular brands, or maybe the brands that you have in Australia are different than what I can access here? But maybe there are some common stuff that is more universal, that's available here, there, and everywhere. Johnny's back, hooray! Or hand rub the bed with steel wool. Okay, I've got some steel wool. And would recommend starting with carbide. Johnny could recommend his set. 200. LJ, is that your guess on how much I paid for it? If so, way less. And let's see, WD-40 is not oil, right? The heavier the better. Vibration is your enemy. You want the lathe as stable as possible. The heavier the better, meaning the heavier the oil, the better. Light Singer sewing machine oil will work just fine. Okay. And yes, way less. Yes, way less. Way less than $200 for this thing. Way less. So yeah, that's part of why I was like, hey, let's check it out. Not too much risk. The heavier the lathe, the heavier the lathe, the better. Okay, many of these new lathes are junk. Yeah, this is definitely heavy. So yeah, I was, I mean, I can lift it, right? But, I can move it around on my own, but not easily. So 50, you're getting closer. Less. Dude, I am cheap, man. I don't pay big money for stuff that I don't have to. What a major bargain. I was hoping so, and it's like, okay, maybe it's priced so cheap because it's not really very good, right? But a lot of times it seems like the older stuff is just built way better than the newer stuff, right? They didn't really have the planned obsolescence back in the day that they do now. Right? We're like, okay, well, we know this is a disposable piece of equipment, or a starter unit. So you'll use this for a year or so until it breaks down, and then you'll buy something better. So, and then let's see, big Vicmark lathe is around 500 kilograms. Yeah, I haven't weighed this, but I'm pretty sure it's under 500 kilograms. And is that for the lathe alone is 500 kilograms, or for the lathe plus, the stand and whatever else you might, or maybe the lathe, your Vicmark, I'm presuming a big commercial piece. Maybe the stand is integrated in, so it's all just part of the lathe. It wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, less than 50. It was listed on Facebook Marketplace for $20. And as we were there looking at it, and they could see that I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is worth dealing with, taking home. And, because as I mentioned earlier, for those of you that may not have joined us yet, just had our little minivan, and there was so much dust piled on this, way worse than what it was when I started this live. But we ended up, pulling it out of their shop. I asked if she had a blower. So she got a blower and, tried to remove remove all the excess dust. And so then I got it to a point where I was like, okay, maybe it's okay to put it in in the minivan. My wife won't kill me for how filthy the minivan is after loading this thing in. And so, yeah, but as I was kind of waffling back and forth as to the price, and whether to buy it, they dropped the price from 20 down to 10. So I paid $10 for this lathe. So, did I get ripped off? Or is that a good deal? Let's see. Let's see. An old lathe is bulletproof. There isn't much that can go wrong. Everything is easily replaceable. You can easily source new bearings, new belts, etc. for dirt cheap. You freaking stole that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking $20 was a really good price. And they told me on the communication back and forth before we came to see it that it was missing the headstock, something or other. He didn't know exactly the terminology. The guy who I bought it from, he actually wasn't there. It's his wife who was handling the transaction, but got him on the phone. He said that he bought the lathe not on purpose. It wasn't an accident, but the way he sounded, the way he presented it, it sounded as though he was buying some other tools, and whoever was selling those tools to him required that he also buy this in order to get the other tools. And so it was worth it to him to buy this, and then he never used it. So it just sat in his shop collecting dust, as you can see. So it runs. I don't really want to run it a lot because I'm not sure about the lubrication issue here. So I want to make sure it's got good lubrication before I run it a lot. because I don't want to burn it up. But even though, as Dale says, everything's easily replaceable and that I can easily source new bearings, I'd rather not source new bearings if I don't have to. All right. $100, Johnny. $100 was that your guess on how much I paid? Because I already said on the live way less than that. The amount that I ended up actually paying for it, they listed it for $20, and I actually paid $10 for it. So I was feeling pretty good about that purchase. But maybe your $100 statement is for something else. And yeah, Doug, $25, even less. All right, LJ says the main thing to check is how close the drive center and live center are to lining up. In a perfect world, the points will touch perfectly aligned. So I'm presuming the drive center is over here, that's connected to the motor, and then the live center, I'm presuming, is over here. I've actually got that, I think, turned around the wrong direction. So see if I can get it off again. All right, there we go. Took it off earlier and then didn't notice that I put it on there backwards. Took it off to clean. So I'm presuming this is the live center and that's the drive center. And so you're saying those two should meet up. Just move the tool rest out of the way. So it looks like, and I don't know if this is just because it's not tightened down, but I feel like it just should be resting on the bed, but it feels like this is a little bit higher. So it doesn't seem to match up exactly. Somewhat close, but not quite perfect. I'll see if I can get you an angle that makes that very clear, so you're not seeing the motor behind it. And so looks like it's, yeah, it looks like it's not aligned either horizontally or vertically. Somewhat close, but I don't know how far off that's going to cause it to be. And if there are adjustments that can easily bring that into alignment, I guess if I, all right. So I guess the way that I align this piece, I can make it so that it's aligned this way, but I don't see a way for me to align it vertically. So yeah, because right there I can, it's aligned horizontally, I guess, and then I can just tighten it down at that point. And I mean, obviously not right next to it because I wouldn't really be able to support any workpiece that way. But if I have it down here, I'm presuming I could get it aligned that way, but I don't see a way for me to align it horizontally. But maybe, yeah, because it's just metal on metal, and I don't see, well, maybe this, maybe I can loosen that screw there to lower it. Can you see that on the camera? So there's a screw right here, and so maybe I just loosen that screw and then tighten the nut against there to make it align vertically. Am I looking at that right? If not, let me know. And if I am, let me know. I always like to be right about things, as infrequently as that happens. All right. my electronics might potentially be a tad sketchy. Get that checked out as homemade wiring job by the looks. Yeah. The pointy bits that go in each end, they need to line up. I don't have the center. Yeah, oh yeah, I don't. I still have rust to remove and have to lock it down. Tailstock, the back bit needs to sit flat on the bed. That will drop it lower a tad and it'll be very close. Okay, so, okay. Good call, Dale. That is, that seems to be pretty close. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And then I don't know if you saw the wiring before, but here's the cable coming out from the side. And they've got the wire coming from the motor. They've got a termination, a cap nut or whatever those are called right there. And then the wire coming from the motor to the switch, a little bit of frame right there, is exposed on the bottom side. And then the wire coming from the switch to the power cord, a lot more frame of the cable there, and then just the kind of the exposed wires there coming to the termination nut there as well. So not the cleanest job, but and then the probably be good to get a new power cable anyway. Let me show you this guy. So he looks a little bit on the old side, and just the two prong whatever. So probably a little bit on the sketchy side. So probably not a bad idea for me to look into getting that done a little bit better, or just doing it better myself. And replace the cable and get a grounded plug. All right. Okay, it's officially stole that. Yeah. An AC motor with a starter cap wired to a switch. It spins at 3,600 RPM. Once turned on, you can replace the wires. Yeah, I was thinking replacing the wires might not be too bad an idea. Yeah, the AC motor, just a 1/4 horsepower and capacitor motor type. Yeah, I'm not really that knowledgeable about motors or anything either, in case it wasn't painfully obvious to everyone watching. But read a little bit, but all right. Anything else that I should be thinking about on this thing before before I start getting the pieces? I've forgotten what you wrote earlier, LJ and Dale, about what I should get here, but after the live I'll go back and review what you've written, make sure that I'm getting the right stuff. And I need to take that the tailstock off and turn that bottom piece underneath the tailstock 90 degrees and slide it back on. It can be a bit of a jiggle to get it back on. Yeah. I was messing with it before we bought it, and I kind of saw how to do that. But I also saw that it's a bit of a pain to mess around with. And as I was sharing earlier, let's see if I think I might need to loosen it a little bit more to get it to turn. Or no, I think I just have to take it off entirely. And then, there we go. Yeah, and then I was sharing earlier that it's got these little braces side to side, and the tailstock will slide past them without too much trouble, but the tool rest will not. So you have to actually remove the tool rest to move it between those brace points. So, if I'm working on a piece that's longer than just one of these segments, between these braces, then in order to move the rest, I've got to, probably, turn it off, unscrew, take that off the bolt, loosen the bolt, remove it, and put it back in place. So not the most convenient. I'm sure the more modern lathes are much simpler to work with, but they also are a bit more expensive, I'm presuming. But all right, definitely quick rewire just to be safe. Yeah, it must go the way you just moved it. Yeah. So I had just placed it there that way just for ease of moving it around and cleaning stuff. So yeah, I know it has to be like, actually, no, it moved again. So that's fun. Let's see if it'll actually stay in place that way. I need to loosen it even more, or maybe it needs to slide around the other direction. There we go. And then it's catching on the brace. So let me try tighten it up a little. Nope. Yep, it's hitting on that first brace. Doesn't want to go through. Let me see if I just hold it up a little. Nope, still doesn't want to make it through. And I don't want to pinch my fingers by yanking too hard. So, interesting. So that might have to be adjusted every time I want to. Luckily, though, I'm going to be moving that every time I'm working with a workpiece anyway, right? Whenever I'm switching workpieces. So, all right. Clean and oil the bed, get a drive center, live center, eventually a chuck. Watch Worth Effort, Colin Way, Tomislav on YouTube. Okay. And then raise the tool rest higher so that the pin doesn't hit the bed. It's lowered way too low anyway. The bingo tool rest will then slide. Okay, so here's the tool rest. Here's the clamp mechanism. So it's got a similar deal here. So it goes like that, right? But I think it had this on top. It had the washer on top, and then the nut down below. Let me look here. Is that how it was? I think that's how it was set up. And so then the washer, yeah. So then this guy sits in there like that. And then I think the washer, when we got it, was on top of that. The nut down below. And then the bolt going through to the nut on the bottom. And then I think the the fact that this washer has part of it cut out, where it's not perfectly round. I think that would, when it was tightened, it would kind of lock in this groove, so that the tool rest wouldn't move around. So I think that's how it was set up. It seemed like it was set up properly, but I don't know that it could really get any closer. I don't know if it would go any higher up. So, okay. Raise the tool rest higher. Yeah, so the pin doesn't hit the bed. Lowered way too low anyway. Okay, then go rest tool will then slide. Doesn't look like it's sitting down tight. Are you talking about the tool rest doesn't look like it's sitting down tight? Because obviously I don't even have it engaged there right now. And okay, now tighten it a lot. Once it's tight, it will work. Banjo, sorry, not bango. The retaining plate has to go back on. The washer, then the place, then the nut. Washer acts as a guide for the banjo to run along the bed smoothly. Okay, so let me just see if I can. And one thing that seemed odd to me, and maybe it seemed like this nut is too big for this groove. So maybe if I get a nut that's sized a little, it's not quite as wide, right? So obviously it would need to be the same interior dimensions to fit the bolt. But if I had something that's a little thinner, right, then it could fit inside there. Because right now it'll lock in so that I can actually tighten the bolt through the nut, but the nut isn't as close to the this clamping piece, whatever this is called, not as close as it could be. So then I think the nut is catching on the those braces beneath the lathe bed. So maybe if I get a nut that is the same interior dimensions, but not as thick, that could fit inside there, or maybe even a square nut or something that could fit inside there, whether it's, I guess it would still need to be the same, it just need to be thinner, right? Whether it's square or hexagon or sextagon or whatever size I'd need, right? So if I can get something that fits closer in, and instead of having that gap, right? And I don't know if I'm even showing you guys very well. So, there's that gap there that's making it so maybe this nut is hanging down too low, and that's why it's having issues. But it does look like, the nut, it was painted the same color as the lathe. So I don't know if that would have been from the factory, or if that is something that, Lewis, and for those of you that weren't here earlier, when I was cleaning off the motor, I found the name Lewis engraved on the motor. And then I'd previously seen the name Lewis on the plywood here. So, and if anyone knows Lewis, I'm presuming he's not with us anymore, but maybe his grandkids or great grandkids or whatever would be interested to know that his lathe lives on. But yeah, so I don't know if Lewis would have been the one to paint this bluish, pale bluish color, along with the rest of the lathe, or if that would have been a factory paint job. Anyone know? Okay. washer acts as a guide. Okay, yeah. And the nut needs to sit tight inside the bit. That nut will no longer move again once it's in place right. Hey, Vineyard, good to see you, man. And yeah, it should fit in the slot. Okay. And how am I changing between the pulleys? Oh, good question. I think, let me show you, and else who's joined late. Never intended to get into lathe work, but my daughter expressed interest in it, and I saw this one on Facebook Marketplace for really cheap, and so I bought it. And we found out that it's, the manual says, the date on the manual for this model number is June 1938. So it's not new, right? And so here's the variable speed setup, right? So it's got a 1/4 horsepower AC motor, and it's belt driven, and it's got 4 different sizes here. And I think the way to adjust tension and to switch between speeds is right here on the motor mount. There are some bolts. There's one in the front here. I think there's supposed to be another one over there. And then there's 2 in the back. And you may be able to see that there's, they're adjustable there. So I think I would just need to loosen those bolts and slide the motor forward. And that should reduce the tension on the belt and make it so that I can either switch to, take the belt off the motor entirely, switch to the appropriate speed, and then put it back on the motor pulley, and then retension it however it needs to be. So I'm figuring that that's how they intend for it to be switched between speeds, but I could be wrong. But I don't really see any other way to do it. So that's my guess. Okay. And let's see, any other questions, concerns, jokes, or advice? And LJ, you mentioned that carbide would probably be what you would recommend for me to get as far as the tools go. And which tools should I be getting for it? And should I just be looking at Amazon for that, or are there particular stores that are better to go to for inexpensive but quality tools? Because as we covered earlier, I don't like paying money for things. So my wife calls me frugal before muttering under her breath, cheap. So let's see. Have I missed any questions? Or did I answer everything that anyone ever wanted to know? Let me see if, just make sure I've got enough power here. I've had some of my live videos go dead because I was not smart about my battery. I also had some live videos to go dead because I was burning a stump, and my phone got too hot every time I tried to show close-ups of the fire. So you would have to get some ice packs, sandwich the phone with the ice packs to get it back operational. So that was fun. So anyone wants to see those fun moments of my phone dying in the middle of lives, I've got those on the channel. And let's see. Loosen and slide the motor forward to make life potentially easier. I've added hinges under the motor to tilt. Oh. Hinges under the motor. So I suppose you'd put the hinges, but then have some sort of locking mechanism so that they're not just constantly rocking forward, I suppose. Have like locking hinges. Is that what you're meaning? Because obviously once it's running, I don't want the motor moving around. And let's see. Safest, easiest way to get started. Johnny has a nice set. I have easy wood. This is what you expected. Okay. Get decent quality tools. Everything with turning is all about balance. And I guess by decent quality tools, you're also meaning not cheap. Big fan of inexpensive. All right. Heavy spring clamp on back. Okay. That's exactly what you're meaning with the hinges. Okay. Excellent. You guys are so helpful. I appreciate it so much. And you know who else is going to appreciate it a lot? My daughter, because she's excited to make some bowls. And we just cut down a willow tree recently. And so I've got a lot of willow to turn. I actually, there's a friend I know from church that I know has a lathe, and I offered some of the willow chunks to him, thinking, hey, you know, you have a lathe. I don't. I'm not intending to get a lathe. Why don't you take these, you know, these willow chunks and blanks, whatever you want to call them, and do whatever turning you want to do. And he said that he already had way too much wood. And I don't know if he meant that literally or in a metaphorical manner, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. And so he did not accept the willow. So I've got still a bunch of willow that I can use. And my understanding is that it's pretty good for turning, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the chat if willow is a good thing to be turning, or maybe I should be looking to get something different to turn with. Let's see. Cheaper tools, nonstop sharpening. Yeah, that makes sense. Buy secondhand rather than cheap, new crap, but if often very low quality steel, even in the shank of the tool, you don't want anything snapping under load. That makes sense. And I am no stranger to buying secondhand tools. Or third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand maybe. So that doesn't bother me. I guess the big question for me that I would have in buying secondhand tools is that I really don't know what I'm looking at. And so I might have a hard time discerning whether the tools that I'm looking at that are secondhand are any better than the tools I could get firsthand from a store that, you know, are the secondhand tools any better than what I can get on the market. I'd really hate to buy secondhand and realize that the tools I got were worse than what I could have gotten for a comparable or cheaper price new. And there's just a big knowledge gap for me right now. So if I buy now, well, I'd need to do a lot of research, I guess, before trying to buy anything new or used, especially used, or new, or used, or new. So, all right. So you guys have helped me a lot. I need to get a piece here, need to get a piece there. I don't remember the names, but I see them in the chat. And so I will, again, revisit that. I need tools. So LJ, you've got a 1/2-inch crown pinnacle bowl gouge, cost $100 new. Oh, ouch, ouch. That's like, my wallet is burning just reading that. So is it easy to identify like good used tools? Like, is Pinnacle a trusted brand, whether it's new or used? Like, if I see a Pinnacle tool, is that like, yes, it's worth whatever, or not really? If you're heading down the carbide route, then try to find easy wood tooling. Okay, so easy wood being a high quality brand. I'm presuming it's a brand rather than a style or type. And then what are the pluses and minuses of the carbide versus traditional high-speed steel? Because I think maybe I wasn't understanding correctly. You were saying go the carbide route, but that is more sharpening required than with the high-speed steel route. I would have thought the high-speed steel route would require more sharpening or more sanding, I think is what you said, more sanding than and maybe what you're saying is that my workpiece is going to require more sanding after using the carbide tools versus using a high-speed steel tool, but maybe the high-speed steel tool require more maintenance and are more finicky to keep in shape. Is that what you meant? Maybe I just was kind of misunderstanding what you said, even though what you said was probably very clear. Don't know the old stuff well. My Thompson bowl gouges are over $180 Australian. Okay, what's the exchange rate? Haven't been to Australia, so I've never even considered the exchange rate there. Carbide is a scraping tool. Traditional tools are primarily slicing tools. Okay, and so because it's tending to scrape more, it's going to leave a rougher surface on the workpiece, and thus it requires more sanding. Am I catching what you're throwing down? Easy wood, $2 to $1 of your dollars. Okay, so it'd be about $90 in US dollars. And is Thompson is that readily available in the US, or is that more an Australian brand, or maybe somewhere else? Easy wood tool is also around $100 each. Doug Thompson 3/8 was $120. Johnny has a good set of carbides that were not that expensive. Scraping tears the fibers of the timber rather than slices the wood. Yeah, and thus leaving a rougher surface, requiring more sanding, right? And LJ, since you're talking about also having a Doug Thompson tool, I'm presuming that's readily available in the U.S. And not just available in Australia. So your Doug Thompson 3/8 was 120, which sounds like it would be more expensive than the 180 Australian, which would translate to roughly $90 US for Dale's Thompson bowl gouges. Maybe Dale bought his earlier before inflation took off. Scraping, okay, yep, way more sanding. I normally start sanding at 320 grit. So you start sanding after using carbide bits. You start sanding at the 320 grit, or you're using the high-speed steel and are able to start at 320. Oh, you buy them unhandled. Okay, so maybe LJ was buying them with handles on them, and thus more expensive. So yeah, Thompson. Oh, it's U.S. manufacturer. Okay, and does Doug Thompson make other stuff besides lathe working tools or wood turning tools? Should I have already heard of them? Am I just really out of the loop? And okay, carbide sanding will start around 80. Okay, so Dale, you're probably using high-speed steel primarily then for your stuff, and that's why you're starting at 320. Or maybe I misunderstood what you meant by 320G. I'm presuming that was 320 grit, but never turn with carbide unless I'm deep hollowing. Primarily use traditional tooling as the most efficient for what I make. Well, that brings up a good question, I think, Dale. What do you usually make? Professional wood turner. I didn't even ask what you typically professionally wood turn. I've seen some of what LJ and Johnny and some of the other woodturners on YouTube do, but I don't think I've ever seen a professional wood turning operation. So cryogenically treated M2 steel. Yeah. Yeah. And are the high-speed steel tools are generally going to leave a much cleaner finish, but they're harder to maintain? Is that the big trade-off with the high-speed steel versus the carbide? And are the high-speed steel tools more expensive than the carbide tools, or are they going to be similar for similar quality of tool? And then the high-speed steel being harder to maintain, but leaving a much finer finish. And message Johnny on Instagram. Okay. I'll have to. I don't really ever use Instagram, so I'll have to track him down there and yeah, most efficient form of steel to cut with, meaning the M2 steel, I'm presuming. And so, okay. Yeah, I'll have to track down, yeah, I rarely even open Instagram. So pretty much the only time I open Instagram is when somebody sends me a link of something. Oh, check this out. I'm like, oh, okay. Otherwise, I'm pretty much never on that app. So, okay. Hey, you guys have been so helpful. Really appreciate all of the input. And I'm happy to be able to share this piece of history with you. 1938, lathe from Sears, Roebuck and Company with a Wagner Electric Company, Wagner Electric Corporation, quarter horsepower motor. 4-speed lathe with the pulley driven belt drive deal. And yeah, really appreciate all of your help on here. You've got a bit of stuff on here, not too much, just starting with filming on YouTube. Yeah, and mainly teach people turning. Okay, cool. And then what do you like to turn the most? We'll have to check out your channel. And hey, everybody who's watching, check out Bill Bassett Timbers. See what he's doing on his channel, and LJ as well. LJ Woodworks does some pretty cool turning over there. All right, on Amazon, can get a set of Wen high-speed steel tools for $60 to $70 a couple years ago. Okay, a whole set. And is that set any good? Is it worth using? Oh, and then Dale says, please don't buy the Wen stuff now as they've changed the steel quality. It's brittle. Okay. Harbor Freight sells high-speed steel set. There's the learning curve. Yeah. You turn art pieces, usually large bowl up to 80 centimeter diameter. Cool. And then, oh yeah, thanks LJ for putting Dale's channel in the chat. And LJ, don't forget to put your own channel in there. And anyone else who's in here, Johnny's, and who else have we had in our chat? Vineyard Farmhouse. I just kind of look back here at who's joined. If you can throw their channels in the chat, and anyone I missed or just not remembering. Yeah, anyone else who's participating, if you can just let us know, and LJ, maybe you can put their channel in the chat for anyone who wants to go check out their stuff. All right, so traditional tools have a learning curve and need to be sharpened. The carbide, I'm presuming, is what you mean there. Carbide are easier to use and just replace the cutter windle. Steer clear of Robert Sorby chisels now. Okay. And yeah, typing with one finger is slow. Yeah, I'm terrible at typing on my phone. I much prefer doing YouTube chat from the computer, in part because I can also tag people a lot easier. On my phone, it doesn't ever really tag people, which is frustrating. I like to use the tag. It seems like nobody else does, but I like it. Make sure that my comment gets directed to the right person when I'm trying to make a directed comment. That is. And yes, we've got Johnny's channel in there, and Todd and Vineyard. Your carbide are Vinwalks. Okay. And is that Johnny? Should I just go to Amazon for those, or is there a better place to look? Oh yeah, Carrie. And yeah. We got some good participation today. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, everyone. All right. Well, unless there are other questions that people have, I think that's probably all that I was hoping to accomplish today. You guys have helped me a ton. I've got some homework to do on tools to get and headstock and tailstock stuff, rewiring, and then I need to watch a bunch more of wood turning to make sure that we're being safe and doing things properly. And remember, the actual lathe is the cheapest part of the setup. Yeah, that's what it's looking like, Dale. That's what it's looking like. And Dale, are you familiar with the Vinwalks that Johnny has? Do you have any experience with them, or know anything about those? Your daughter really loves the roundy. Yeah, wonderful rabbit hole to disappear down. Yeah, I think she will. She's when she gets into things, she really gets into them. One of the things she's really into is cooking and baking, and so that's part of why she wanted to do mixing bowls, so that she can have her own custom mixing bowls. Then she wants to make bowls for her friends, and she likes to give gifts to her friends, and so that would be a unique gift that she could give. And so that was one of the things I heard her mentioning that she wants to do with it. But yeah, it'll be pretty cool once we get it operational. And yeah, I guess I'll be watching a lot more of all of your channels as we try to figure out the best way to use this thing and how to make some cool stuff. So let's see. Not on your radar. That's fine. Amazon, they came in a set in a wooden box. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks again so much for participating, everybody. Thanks for joining. Even those who aren't in the chat, just watching and taking in this piece of history from probably 1938, pre-World War II. And I'll keep getting it cleaned up and remove the rust and get some oil in this and change out the wiring and get some tools and everything and get this up and running. We'll yeah, and Dale says, I'm going to be a little limited with bowls because of the horsepower of the motor, a little underpowered. Yeah, that makes sense. With just a 1/4 horsepower, and I don't know if the 1/4 horsepower motor that this came with is going to be better or worse than a 1/4 horsepower motor that might be produced today. I think in some ways it's probably better, in some ways it might be worse. Maybe the horsepower rating is maybe more true to actual day-to-day usage, whereas maybe it's yeah, I don't know. But I could understand how maybe that could be more limiting. So maybe we wouldn't be able to use larger stock, because I think it was said that it's rated for 9 inches, which obviously would be about 4.5 inches down, which definitely seems like that's not going to be much more than that. And then, obviously another 4.5 inches on top. But I think it said 9. But maybe what you're saying is that what its rated capacity is not what the horsepower on the motor could actually handle. Just because something could fit on here doesn't necessarily mean that the motor is strong enough to turn it. Maybe that's what you're saying. Have loads of fun though. You can easily buy a new motor off marketplace and swap it over. Exactly, spindle height is from the middle of the spindle to the bed. Yeah. Yeah, I could buy a motor, or even better, I could get one for free. I like those even better. That's my favorite price, in case you guys haven't figured that out. Yeah, I was watching. I was actually thinking of replacing the motor on my bandsaw recently, and because it's a little half horsepower old Craftsman bandsaw. It's featured in several of my prior videos, but here's the motor, and here's the old Craftsman bandsaw, right? I was cutting some cherry wood with it not too long ago on a different live video, and just wasn't powering through very well. I realized after that first live video that my belt was way under tensioned, and so I was able to fix some things on that, and it worked a lot better after that. But it still wasn't particularly powerful. So I was thinking, maybe I could upgrade from that half horsepower to, a 1.5 or a 2 horsepower motor. And so I was looking at buying them, but then I thought, hey, maybe there's a better way. And so I was looking at this guy that had some methods of getting some more powerful motors for free. Again, my favorite price. So what would be the most powerful motor that you would think would be safe to run on this? I guess if it's the same RPM rating, then maybe it's not that big of a deal, but let's see. So this is a 1725 RPM motor, which is actually the same as the bandsaw. So, maybe I just get a better motor for the bandsaw, upgrade that to like a 1.5, 2 horsepower motor, and then take my half horsepower motor and swap it over here. They're both 1725 RPM. That doubles the power here, but is that worth doing, or should I hold out for something more powerful for the lathe? And let's see. That lathe is designed for long spindle work. Okay, so for table legs, that sort of thing. Free motors, double thumbs up. 3/4 horsepower. Okay, so you think 3/4 horsepower is maybe the most powerful that I should use on the lathe? Will work for what I need. Okay. Yep, bandsaw motor is 2.5 horsepower. Yeah, and I actually found some free motors that I think were rated for up to 3 horsepower variable speed, but I'm not sure that they would be sealed well enough for all the sawdust and everything that would be created by the bandsaw. Yeah, 1 horsepower should really be the max I'd want on that. RPM will be perfect. Yeah. So 1725. So this is a half horsepower. This is a 1/4 horsepower. So doubling the horsepower, I think, would be a good upgrade. But do you want me to just tell you the secret that I learned for getting motors for cheap or for free? Because I'll do it. I'll tell you the secret. The guy, it was Kevin. His name. I just subscribed to his channel. Kevin something. Very, very well done. Very educational on motors. And yeah, I'll have to link it after the fact. for anyone who's watching this, later, not live. But anyway, he was saying that how he gets a lot of his free motors is he'll look on like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever, for people who are getting rid of treadmills. They just have them for free. They're like, come and get it. He's like, the motor is usually just fine. Usually the things that are the problems are other components. And so he'll just go and grab a treadmill that someone's getting rid of, yank out the motor, maybe reuse other parts of it, and then just dispose of whatever he doesn't want or need. And so, let's see, 1725. Yes, I did say 1725. And the higher the horsepower, over 3 horsepower, the more main power amperage you need in your switchboard in your shop to run it. Right. And so I don't have any 220, 230, 240 power in the shop. All I've got is 120 right now. And so, yeah, I think the upper limit for running 120 is around the 3 horsepower mark, or maybe it's even 2 horsepower. But the motors that are on these treadmills that people are getting rid of, I think generally they're going to work with a 120 outlet, and otherwise I don't know that there are a lot of home use machines, treadmill machines that people are getting that would require more than just a regular 120 outlet. And so maybe it's not truly 2, 3, 4 horsepower, whatever. Maybe it's true horsepower rating, or its consistent use horsepower rating is much lower. But anyway, yeah. And then LJ, yes, 1725 RPM for both this motor and for my bandsaw motor. They're both the same speed. That was one of the things that I was looking at on the bandsaw motor, because a lot of the replacement motors that I was considering, both, because I was looking at just Marketplace for people selling motors, but I was also looking at new motors and whatever. And so a lot of the motors that I saw out there were 3450 RPM, which I could use on the bandsaw, but I would have to change the pulley sizes in order to make that work. And the pulley that I'm using on this 1725 RPM motor, what it came with when I got it secondhand or third hand or fourth hand, whatever it was, the pulley is already pretty small. I think it's only like 2 inches. And so if I were to switch to a 3450 RPM motor for the bandsaw, then I think it's supposed to go to a 1 inch. It's supposed to be half the diameter of the pulley that I'm using for the 1725 RPM motor. And I think that's pretty small and might lead to some bad things for the belt. But again, I'm not much of a motor guy. Most of what I know about motors I learned from the Kevin guy that I was mentioning earlier. So let's see. I can run 3.6 horsepower on 240 volt, 15 amp outlets in my power board without going 3-phase power. Yeah, the 4-pole motor then. The 1725 RPM motors, 4-pole. I will take your word for it. I think that Kevin guy I was mentioning might have talked about 4-pole motors. I don't remember him talking about 4 poles, but he talked about several different types of motors. So asynchronous are typical 3600 RPM, 60 hertz by 60 seconds, 3600 RPM. Yeah. A lot of them are rated 3450. So and maybe that's a 3600 RPM class, but the actual RPM listed on the motor, nameplate and stuff was 3450 is I'm seeing pretty often on those motors. And asking for trouble doing that with the pulley size. Going to such a small pulley to like a 1 inch, I'm presuming is what you're saying there. The other thing I could do is, instead of making the pulley size just 1 inch in diameter at the motor, I could make the drive pulley, or maybe it's not the drive pulley, but the other side, I could make it double the size, right? So instead of halving the pulley that's connected to the motor, I could double the size of the pulley that's connected to the bandsaw. I'm not even sure what terminology to use there, because I'm so good at this, right? So that might be better to do, but that also makes it, I think it's like a 6-inch pulley. Let me check it real quick. Just pull a ruler here and go look. So yeah, it looks to be about 5 inches. And I think there's enough room that if I were to go to a 10-inch pulley, I think there's enough room to do that without screwing things up over there. But that's also maybe asking for a lot. And I could possibly do some combination of the two, where maybe I make the 2-inch pulley maybe 1.5 inches instead of 1. But again, it's, I just much rather stick with a 1725 RPM motor and not have to worry about it. So, yeah. So, hey, again, thanks everyone for watching, for chiming in, for helping me, and hope you've enjoyed this step back into history. And I hope you'll join me next time. And I think we'll call it a night. It's 7:37 here in Idaho, and I think my wife and daughters might need me for something. So I better get going. Hey, thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time. And LJ, thanks for moderating and getting all those channels linked in there. And again, appreciate all the help, everybody. Have a great night, and happy Memorial Day to everybody. Take care.